Welcome to another Founder Wisdom podcast. We have Ben Haldeman with us today. Ben is CEO and founder at LifeShip. It's a community space mission to preserve Earth and populate a new world. Ben is a space entrepreneur, is a futurist, an engineer, spacecraft architect, a decentralized community enthusiast, a product geek, and a yogi. So we're going to talk about his company, his background today. And Ben, yeah, without further ado, tell us a bit more about yourself and what you're up to.
Thanks for having me, Charles. Excited to be here. Yeah, I've spent most of my career working on different space projects, and I had the vision about 5 years ago for LifeShip. And the big long-term vision is to continue life in the universe. And we've started with backups of Earth and forever archives of human culture and humanity's story. And so we've already launched four missions to space. One landed on the moon, and this one that landed on the moon is a pyramid. So it fits in about in the palm of your hand. So it's a small pyramid, but inside is packed with plant seeds, the human genome etched into ceramic to last 1 billion years, all sorts of art, all sorts of culture, all of Wikipedia is inside of it. So it really is this densely packed monument of Earth and humanity. And humans have built pyramids for thousands of years all over Earth. And this is the first ever pyramid built somewhere off the world. And so it's a monument to Earth and life and kind of a first step in our bigger mission, which is build a community that uh, is meant to continue life and to continue human consciousness beyond. And one day, I I imagine that community having a community on the moon and living in space someday. And so, the long range mission is to kick off a movement of humanity to carry life to the stars.
Right. And how much of this is like cool fantasy stuff and how much of it is like actual usefulness?
I think this mission just like threads the needle in the most beautiful way. Like it is out there. It is, hey, one day we could seed life to the stars. And yeah, is that a 1,000 year mission or 100,000 year mission or a 1 billion year mission? I don't know. Um, but starting with seed bank on the moon and an archive on the moon, that feels relevant today. That and we've already done that. Humans have built seed banks on Earth for thousands of years, and so we know the value of saving a collection of plant seeds or saving a library or an archive for future generations. And we live in a time of rapid change, and the moon is the next closest neighbor, and we have plenty of archives here on Earth, and some have been designed to last millions or thousands of years, and they're already melting in permafrost. And so building anything on Earth to last forever is kind of hard. So the building the first one on the moon feels relevant today, and it's a bridge towards sci-fi futuristic stuff.
I love it. And yeah, the moon is safer than the Earth, I guess. Would the next step be sending stuff on Mars? And also, if you could tell us, like, what would happen in a catastrophic scenario in which everything would go extinct, and the thesis would be that these seeds on Earth would have been radioactively being burned by nukes, for example. We would still have these on the moon, or maybe an alien civilization would pick it up. What's the thesis behind that one?
So the next step, we're actually sending one early next year, and I'm working on getting this mission all together to an asteroid. And so there's an asteroid mining company called Astroforge, and we're putting a pyramid on their spacecraft, and their spacecraft will go land on an asteroid, and this will be a forever backup of Earth on an asteroid. And um, and I see this as like, yes, there are doomsday scenarios where saving a backup somewhere else is is helpful. Um, I like to look at this as an inspirational, hopeful mission of humanity um, continuing and expanding the footprint of life and taking steps um, towards a mission in service to life and a mission in service to continuing life and spreading the seeds of life. And so, um, yeah, there will be backups in other places that future humans could go get if they really needed to to recover a species. And there's already technology being worked on to bring back the woolly mammoth from DNA found in the tundra, and so this is not too far sci-fi that a population bank of DNA and seeds could be used to bring life back. Um, but yeah, I'm inspired by this being a movement towards one day carrying life to the stars, and I'm hopeful and optimistic about humanity's future in the galaxy.
And why the pyramid shape? And yeah, if you could repeat like why these elements that you have installed into this little pyramid are so important. Like you must have done heavy research on why each of these components would be important, right? Like tell us about the design itself and the research that went into the end product.
Mhm. So the pyramid is a fundamental geometry that cultures around the earth have built, and so uh, it seems like something that we kind of come to as a basic form, and the pyramid kind of, I guess, stood the test of time as a great symbol of a civilization and as a monument. And Yeah, so it seems like a good monument and symbol to carry forward. And as far as what's in it, we've used a couple of different technologies that are designed to last 1 billion years in space, which is a long time. Maybe even longer, maybe even they could last the duration of the universe essentially, or like um, and so a couple of these are nano etching in ceramic, uh, uh, like nano nano etching essentially in this 5-dimensional crystal as well. And then we also use um, use like silicon etching technology to etch tiny graphics and pictures and photos and text in nickel, thin layers of metal nickel. So we use different technologies that are meant to last billions of years, and we can etch information in them. We also store information in DNA. You can there's a whole field of DNA computing where you can store. I think you can store all of the videos on YouTube, all the data on YouTube in something the size of a sugar cube. That's in DNA. So DNA is a very compact storage mechanism. So we use these different storage technologies, and then we also, we work with artists and have different ways artists can add art, either tiny art, nano engraved on these, or like on their own custom metal plate. And then we also work with other partners where essentially we're like a time capsule platform that other organizations and partners and communities and initiatives can add their own content to these time capsules. And so that's kind of our initial business model, is both consumers and artists being part of these missions in different way, whether it's adding art or stories or photos or even your DNA to these missions, and then companies and organizations that do their own collections and are working on their own archives, and that we add these to them.
Very interesting. And now you also want to send human DNA to the moon with LifeShip, right? Like, tell me a bit more about the concept of that company, and yeah, what would be the implications of me sending my DNA to the moon? It's just like $100. I do the test and ship it back to you, and there you go. I have my DNA backup on the moon.
Yeah. So we've already sent DNA to space 3 times. Two of those missions went up to the International Space Station, and we did a population bank of thousands of humans on the space station. Um, and then we sent one that went the distance of the moon. It reached the moon's orbit, and then came back. And then we are working towards a future one uh, where we put a population bank of DNA and all different species on the moon. And it's a way for people to be part of that.
And does my DNA stays intact once I do the test? Like how do I make sure that it's really there and it's not broken once I want to recuperate it in 200 years from now?
Mhm. So 200 years should be good. We are working on better and better storage technologies. I think the record is DNA has been recovered over 1 million years old, and that needs to be stored in the right way. So there is the potential that we can definitely store DNA for long time periods. And then we've also etched a human's DNA into ceramic, and that literally would last like 1 billion years. And so there are different ways. Our initial way of engaging people on this is we'll, we put your we put your DNA in space, or we'll get it to the moon, uh, and it may last hundreds of years, it may last thousands of years. We don't have the a guarantee on how long it'll definitely last, but over time we want to make it last longer and longer, and make it more of a significant backup. And our long-term goal is to carry a population bank of humanity to the stars and carry, say, 1 million people's DNA to the stars.
Interesting. Tell me about the logistics part of that. Like, how complex is it to partner up with these companies doing a space launch? Because yeah, it's a small cargo space. Maybe not the DNA, the personal DNA kits. They must take a lot of space. So I don't know how you manage that. The pyramid is super small, right? So it's just like, oh, they take the pyramid and they drop it off wherever. Tell me about like the full logistic process there.
Mhm. So, so these pyramids we've done, they fit in the palm of your hand. They're pretty small, and DNA is absolutely tiny. Data and information using advanced storage technologies is tiny. So we've been able to fit a lot of DNA and a lot of information inside a small payload. Um, so yeah, when we send a collection device for a person to provide their DNA, it comes with a swab. It comes in a box. It gets mailed back to us. We extract the DNA off the swab and preserve it, um, inside a polymer inside this pyramid. So we're sending a tiny sample from each person, but that sample contains tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of copies of your DNA, and so it and even if some break down over time, you can still piece together all the different fragments and come up with the complete code.
Right, and the partnerships with NASA and SpaceX I'm referring to, like how do you make that work? Like how much do you pay them to be on the cargo?
Yeah, yeah. So we did partner with NASA, and signed this called a Space Act agreement, and we did that for 4 missions to the space station. We've done 2 of those. We have another space station mission coming up. We've flown on a bunch of SpaceX rockets, but we haven't partnered directly with SpaceX. We have, for the missions to the space station, we were partnered with NASA or another provider that collaborates or that coordinates getting stuff up to there. Um, so we weren't a direct customer with SpaceX. And then for the moon landings, there are different commercial companies that build the moon lander. and the Moonlander company has the contract with SpaceX, and we have the contract with the Moonlander. So yeah, we haven't need to have a contract directly with the rocket company on any of these because we haven't been the primary payload.
And yeah, technically, how much do you pay for a small pyramid to be delivered? And is it like delivered by the lander itself by a robot, or is it like an astronaut like dropping it? Like how does it work?
So all these, in our contracts, we're not supposed to say the price we paid. Um, the
I'm gonna
ones that
give
go
a
up to the
ballpark
space
though, like a
station,
150K. Am I in the right ballpark?
if you want to guess that, then that's fine. It's not millions of dollars. We're definitely a smaller payload,
Okay.
and space has become a lot more accessible. So, back 5, 10, 15 years ago, you couldn't do anything in space without millions of dollars. And now, there are schools doing school projects in space, and there's startups doing things. And so it has become a lot more accessible, and these different providers have ways to get on them, to get missions on them without it being in the millions of dollars. Um, yeah, and there haven't been the ones that have gone to the space station. Some of those astronauts unload the cargo from the and then store it on the space station. Um, the ones that have gone to the moon or gone out to space, those don't have people on them. They're robotic landers.
Very cool. Okay, now getting back to the existential crisis that we're facing as a humanity, and what could hamper life? What is on top of your list nowadays? Is it AI? Is it human nature and terrorism? What could extinguish life at scale in the next couple of decades?
Jeez. I guess AI is the biggest existential risk that could do something really big. I do think that we are going through massive challenges with climate change and challenges as a species with governance and how we live. But I think the biggest unknown and the biggest exponential that could affect us over the next decades is probably AI.
Right. And talking about like life out there, yeah, let's go on that tangent a little bit. Like, do you believe in alien life? And if there is alien life, do we even need to bother spreading our DNA out there, or do they already have the technology to revive us and at any point of time?
Mhm. Yeah, it's a good question. I believe there's aliens out there. I don't know if they're, I don't necessarily believe they're flying around in spaceships around Earth, or they're physically landing here. I do think that there are other dimensions and other, a deeper, that time and space are a bit of an illusion, and that aliens and alien intelligence and the intelligence of the whole universe is impacting every moment here on Earth. And so I do believe that the intelligence is here, is impacting us. Um, I, whether they have access to our code somewhere else, or whether any of this is needed. I don't. It's hard to know. I do believe that everything is happening for a purpose, and I do believe I've been that I've been guided and selected on this mission, both from Earth and the intelligence of Earth, as well as, like, I believe it's my role in the universe. And so, whether this is to impact something in the future, or kind of like plant a seed in the future that then maybe even comes back to impact today, like, it's possible. So, um you know who who knows? But I feel like it's an important mission, and it's both a mission that could have a long range impact, but it's also something that can inspire people today. It's something that can inspire us to care for Earth better today. When you think long term, it also gets you, gets you caring about the planet today. So,
Right.
um, yeah,
Do you believe we're in a simulation, and what would be the evidence to support that?
I yeah, I believe it's either some sort of a dream or some sort of simulation, um, s- something along those lines. Um, what's the evidence? Yeah, I think it's just like you couldn't really make this up. It's we're living in the perfect story ever dreamed up, and I think that's what's kind of like happening, is that the whole universe is unfolding at the same time, and that the past and the future are still part of this same moment, and the whole story is like, um yeah, but I guess we're just watching it play out, but maybe it's already played out, or the whole thing is already predetermined in a way. And um, yeah, and I believe that we are a species that's destined for the stars, and that I believe that's our role in the universe, and I believe the rest of the universe is cheering us on and helping us out in some way, and all the previous civilizations that have ever failed and ever died, like what's happening here on Earth is informed by all of that. And so yeah, I think we are informed by every moment of the universe, and that we're one that has a beautiful future. Uh,
Right.
yeah.
And that comes from a guy like you that has done a lot of extreme adventures, right? Like I read there, like you won 100-mile marathon, so that's pretty good, right? You did a bunch of Ironmans, you were a pro cyclist, did 100 races, you explored a whole bunch of parts in the world. You rock climbed El Capitan de Nose in 17 hours, so speed climbing. uh, so, what did you go through in this life? Why did you go through these very tough events, and what have been some of your best lessons from these?
hmm Yeah. I I did Ironmans and Hawaii Ironman. I did a bunch of marathons. I did 100 milers. I got into professional cycling and did the Olympic trials and did a bunch there, and then got into big rock climbing. Um, yeah, I think it taught me how to set big goals and go after things, and um, stay determined towards climbing a big mountain or going after a big thing. And um, I had a vision of, okay, like let's put a pyramid on the moon, and let's put the first ever seed bank up there, and then that kind of captivated me, and I was able to start a company and find different ways to engage people in it, find different ways to get it funded, and bring in some revenue along the path, and um, kind of keep the focus, that that is like a hard and lonely entrepreneurial journey at times. Um, and I guess with a lot of this, I've learned to trust that it's unfolding as it's supposed to, and the dots are connecting, and the right people come into my life, and the right missions come along, and if one rocket explodes or one thing crashes and doesn't make it, that's still part of the journey, and I kind of shake it off sooner. And you know, and I think climbing big things like El Capitan in Yosemite, big 3,000-foot vertical wall that the first time I did it, it took 4 days and sleeping on the side, and then eventually climbed it in a day. Um, that in the course of those kind of climbs, you're just making thousands or millions of life or death situation decisions, and you kind of learn to keep yourself calm, to move through it, to have an instinct around it, and I think all that trained a lot with building a company, or getting things to space quickly, where you know, traditionally, like NASA missions, you might work on one mission for 20 years to get something to space, and so I've had to move quicker and learn how to do things differently, and you know, I guess take risks, but also develop an instinct around what uh, what you can do.
Right, and running a company is not as scary as climbing a 30,000 foot wall like you did. So, how do you manage your fear nowadays? Yeah, when shit hits the fan, like, do you still have these reflexes? Do you attribute that to your ex-athlete career? Do you still have some of that fear in you?
I know my first couple years of starting a company and going out on my own, I definitely would have some fear, have some doubt, have things come up. Um, and I feel at this point, um, you know, even though it's got a journey ahead, and it's still, I'm still bootstrapping it and getting it by, and trying to get the missions covered, and um, I feel less fear around it. I feel, um, you know, I've I trust in it. I trust that this has a path forward. I'm committed, and I've accepted this is what I'm doing. Um, so yeah, I think I get less. Um, Meditation has helped. Yoga has helped. I feel you know, I have a calm approach towards it, and um, yeah.
Got your shit together. Um, you said you had visions about like that mission of yours. Did you go through a couple of vision quests yourself? What's your take on psychedelics to not only like heal oneself inside, but also get like a clear vision and purpose in life?
Yeah, I've done a bunch of trips to different rainforests. I've worked with different plant medicines. I've worked with different shamans and different indigenous lineages. Um, I have a lot of trust in those, and a lot of trust in the insights, and I feel many of my earlier journeys were perhaps like healing journeys, and more like uh, showing me stuff and teaching me stuff and clearing things out and realigning things, and then you know, and then they started to become more visionary, and I started to get bigger picture insights around it, and I had grown up not really very spiritual or religious, and then through time in nature, through meditation and yoga, through plant medicines and travels and festivals and Burning Man and events, I really, I guess, started to have spiritual awakenings, and started to feel that there's a intelligence to the universe, and started to you know, see it unfolding for me, rather than like myself being a victim of it, or it happening to me. So so yeah, I do feel that each one of us has a purpose, and we're each here for a reason, and each person you connect with happens for a reason, and that we're all part of a beautiful unfolding story together.
Love it. Burning Man, the community aspect of it, right? Like I think, yeah, that's one very strong aspect about humans that can scale in the age of AI. How we forge community, the trust aspect, right? The emotions. What would be superhuman skills that we could entertain or work on and actually scale in the future via an AI? Because AI is technically an extension of our brains, but if you would picture yourself in 100 years in an AI world, right? You have AI assistants around you, you have supercognition. What would be a human super skill? For example, intuition is pretty good, right? Like the brain is incredibly good at coming up with very powerful insights on very low energy, right? And it's pretty entertaining on how it fetches these memories from very far and pieces things together. So yeah, what are humans superpower that you would still see 100, 200 years from now?
Hmm. Wow, good question. I do feel, as much as we have huge challenges right now, we are in this exponential awakening as well. And humans have access to information. We have access to tools that are helping us live healthier and stronger. And um, we have whatever meditation and brainwave apps that are doing things. And so I do feel, um, we are tapping into new potentials. We are tapping into new potentials collectively, and as more and more of us do that, that it can awaken bigger things as a society. Um, and yeah, there are studies that you know if a lot of people are meditating, that there is something going on collectively, that there is like some sort of uh, deeper access
Some
to
mycelium.
I don't know. Yeah, yeah. Whether there's deeper connection to our intuition, whether we are essentially like antennas rather than the generators of our thoughts, and we're receiving information. I think the more that collectively we are awakening, and the more that individually we are, aligned and uh, caring for our body and caring for our mind and doing the practices, and the more that we are receiving the information. So yeah, I think there's big potentials for us, um, acting as a global and intelligent brain together, I guess. And in some way, AI is going to be weaving that and amplifying that, and um, yeah.
Yeah, I think AI is going to help us discover stuff about us, ironically, right? It's going to be used for research and ultimately, yeah, potentially going to lead to greater insights as we feed it, because ultimately it's an extension of our own brains. Yeah, what's next for you for LifeShip and life like this year? What do you want to accomplish? What's your A1 mission?
Mhm. Mhm. So we are doing these space missions, and then there's all different ways that partners, brands, individuals can be part of it. I also am growing community through this, and I have different types of community calls, and ways for people to be part of it. And I have a vision towards the community on the moon, and towards gathering a global community of uh, heart-centered entrepreneurs and people, um, people on similar paths that one day could do a journey of the moon, and then one day could be part of a community on the moon. And I think the moon's only 2 days away, and the rockets are becoming more and more like airplanes. And so, at some point, there's going to be daily or weekly flights there, and there will be a village up there, and there will be a city up there. And so, um, I am working towards growing a community that could then have communities here on Earth as well as communities across space, um, and that is doing it in a way that is about life, and is about human connection, and is about continuing humanity to the stars.
Love that. Yeah, and it's yeah, I can picture that vision that you said. Well put forward in very simple words. Ben, where can people find out more about you and your company?
So it's LifeShip and LifeShip.com. I'm Ben at LifeShip.com. My Instagram is Ben LifeShip, or Ben Haldeman at on LinkedIn. So yeah, those are a few ways.
That was Ben and Charles for